Let's talk about Islam. You're looking at a faith with nearly 2 billion followers all over the world, in every kind of culture imaginable. And that presents a really fascinating puzzle. So, here's the big question we're tackling today. How can a religion that is so incredibly diverse also feel so profoundly unified? What's the glue that holds the global Muslim community, the Ummah, together?
Well, the answer really comes down to a shared framework. It's a set of core beliefs and practices. For observant Muslims, there are these 5 key commitments, which you've probably heard of as the 5 pillars of Islam. And these pillars, they are the absolute foundation of Muslim life.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with this idea of unity in diversity, then walk through the pillars of faith, daily life, and the year. After that, we'll unpack the real meaning of Sharia, and we'll finish up by getting a better handle on the concept of jihad. Sound good? Let's dive in.
Okay, first up, unity in diversity. You know, it's so easy to think of Islam as just one single thing, like a monolith. But the reality, it's this incredibly rich tapestry of different cultures, all woven together by a set of really powerful shared experiences.
Which brings us to our first pillar, and this one is the absolute bedrock of the faith. It's called the Shahada, and it's the testimony of faith. This is way more than just a statement. It's the front door to Islam itself.
So the Shahada is this act of bearing witness. It's a public declaration of the 2 most foundational beliefs in Islam. It goes, "There is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God." If someone is converting to Islam, this is the moment, reciting this in front of witnesses. It's even considered the ideal thing for a person to say as their last words.
So let's break that down, because it has 2 really powerful parts. The first bit, "There is no God but God," is just this crystal clear declaration of pure monotheism. End of story. And the second part, "And Muhammad is the messenger of God," is what affirms that the Quran is a divine message, and he was the one who delivered it. These 2 little clauses, they're the very heart of Islamic belief.
Okay, so from that core belief, we move into practice. And the next 2 pillars, Salat and Zakat, are woven right into the fabric of a Muslim's daily life. They create this constant rhythm of devotion and taking care of the community.
Salat is the pillar of prayer, and ideally it's performed 5 times every single day, at daybreak, noon, mid-afternoon, sunset, and in the evening. This isn't just you talking to God by yourself. It's a way to literally step out of the normal rhythm of your workday and into something sacred, connecting with God, yeah, but also with millions of other Muslims doing the exact same thing all over the world.
And you've probably heard this call to prayer, the adhan, echoing from mosques. It starts with Allahu Akbar. God is great. It even includes the Shahada we just talked about. And then it gives this literal call, come to prayer. But honestly, my favorite part is the last line, come to flourishing. It's this beautiful idea that prayer isn't just some duty. It's meant to be a path to a better, more fulfilled life.
So the prayer itself involves a physical cycle of postures called a raka'ah, and the most crucial part is this movement from standing all the way down to full prostration, with your forehead literally touching the ground. I mean, think about it. It's an incredibly humbling act of submission, a physical way of saying, my ego comes second to God. In fact, the Arabic word for a mosque, masjid, literally means a place of prostration.
The other pillar that shapes daily life is zakat, or almsgiving. This is basically a built-in commitment to social justice. It requires Muslims to give a slice of their wealth, usually about 2.5%, to support people who need it most, like the poor, orphans, and widows. And the word zakat is actually related to purification, which I think is fascinating. The idea is that sharing your wealth actually purifies it.
All right, so we've covered the daily stuff. Now let's kind of zoom out to the 2 pillars that mark the whole year for Muslims. You've got the month-long fast of Ramadan and the once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage, the Hajj.
So during the month of Ramadan, from dawn to sunset, it's all about discipline. Observant Muslims don't eat, they don't drink, and they avoid other worldly desires to really focus on their faith. But then the sun goes down, and the whole atmosphere just flips. The fast is broken with a meal called iftar, and things get super celebratory, with families and whole communities coming together. So why do it? What's the point of fasting? Well, it's about so much more than just not eating. It's seen as a time to build self-discipline, right? To remember that you depend on God, not just on your next meal. And maybe most importantly, by choosing to feel hunger, it helps build this deep, genuine compassion for people who are hungry all the time, not by choice.
And now we get to the final pillar, the Hajj.
the pilgrimage to Mecca. And just wow, look at that number. That's how many people show up there every single year. It is by far the largest annual pilgrimage on the entire planet. It's just a staggering display of global unity.
Man, this quote just perfectly captures the spirit of the Hajj. All the pilgrims wear these simple, identical white cloths, stripping away any sign of wealth or social status. The whole point is radical equality. A president could be standing right next to a farmer, and before God, they are exactly the same. People say it's an experience that completely changes them forever.
Okay, so running underneath all of these pillars is a concept that you've probably heard a lot about, but well, let's just say it's often misunderstood. I'm talking about Sharia. So let's clarify what this term actually means.
Forget what you might have seen in headlines for a second. The word Sharia literally translates to a road leading to water. Now think about it. In the deserts where Islam began, a road to water isn't just a path, it's the source of life itself. So Sharia isn't just some harsh legal code. It's understood as God's path, a whole way of life meant to help people flourish, covering everything from prayer to business to family.
So that leads to a pretty big question, right? How do you take this divine path from the 7th century and apply it to life today? Well, that's the job of Islamic jurisprudence, which is called fiqh, and scholars rely on 4 main sources. They start with the Quran, obviously, then they look to the Sunnah. That's the example set by the Prophet Muhammad, but for new issues those texts don't cover, they also use community consensus and logical reasoning to figure out the best way forward.
Finally, let's tackle one more big term that you hear all the time: jihad. It's sometimes even called the 6th pillar, and it's so important to understand its true meaning because it's way, way broader than what you typically see in the news.
First thing you need to know, jihad simply means struggle or effort. That's it. And the Islamic tradition makes a really clear distinction between 2 types. There's the lesser jihad, which is the external struggle. That can include a physical fight to defend the community, but it's governed by a lot of strict rules. But then there's the greater jihad, which is considered far more important, and that's the internal struggle, the daily effort to fight against your own worst impulses, like greed or anger, and to be a better person.
And look, this quote from the Prophet Muhammad himself just makes that hierarchy crystal clear. After a battle, he reportedly told his followers, "You are returning from the lesser jihad. Now you can begin the greater jihad, fighting against the evil within yourself." So the highest, most noble form of jihad is that inner, spiritual struggle for self-improvement.
So you can see how these pillars and concepts create this incredible, unifying framework for almost 2 billion people. They pray the same way, fast at the same time, and dream of the same pilgrimage. But that leaves us with one last big question to think about. Within this unified structure, how do all the diverse cultures and individual interpretations out there continue to create the rich, vibrant, and yes, sometimes contentious tapestry that is the modern Muslim world?